How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
Good morning, Will.
Morning.
It really is good morning right now, huh?
It's an early one.
Early edition of Story of the Fight. Welcome, everybody, to Story of the Fight. This is a podcast where we talk all things mixed martial arts. My name is Romero. That's my boy, Will.
What
Sporting
up?
the O'Malley shirt, I see, huh? Oh, all right. And so if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, please feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you don't like watching, but I suggest you watch because we share pictures and stuff like that. But if you don't like watching and you like listening, we have Spotify, Breaker, Podcast, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, anywhere podcasts are found. You can also find us on social media, though.
Yeah, at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, everywhere.
You know what? For it being 7 a.m., you look very lively.
Hey, and let's be real. Shout out HLB Comer, morning you crazy fucks. Really 7 a.m. over there? It is for me. I'm looking at
9 a.m. for this guy.
And it is dark out. It is dark out. But you should definitely follow us on social media so that you know that we change the time sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not always 9 a.m.
HLB Comer saying, now you know what it feels like to lose sleep for the love of MMA. Because I believe our boy is over in Europe, right? So what time of the fight's usually on over there?
Late.
Oh, that sucks, man. Just pulling all-nighters to watch fights live. You got to do what you got to do sometimes. You know what I mean? But we have had one of the most hyped up cards of the year in UFC 280 last night. On paper, it was absolutely stacked. HLB Comer saying fights are usually on at 4 a.m. Yeesh.
Brutal.
Rough.
Here I am complaining about 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to give
doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, real quick, I want to give a shout out to the boy Keith from the official 1FC Discord. Check him out at Funky Weird World on TikTok. Funky Weird World. He does like picks and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm gonna follow him. Funky Weird World.
Funky Weird World.
That's a mouthful. All right, but yeah, shout out to Keith. Let's get going. UFC 280, one of the most hyped up cards of the year. On paper, it was absolutely stacked. We've been talking about this card already for a couple weeks. We did a predictions episode.
We did
a couple weeks ago. I wonder how we did against our predictions.
I'll tell you this right now.
About it. What?
I'll tell you this right now. I did pretty bad. This event, I got overtaken in our picks league because of this event.
Yeah, you did actually.
I had a bad night.
All right. Well, you want to go and get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we start off with the main event?
Yeah.
All right. We have Islam Makhachev versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. This was what everybody was saying was like the poor man's Khabib versus Tony Ferguson. That never went down. It should have gone down. But everybody was like, Islam might not be as good of a version as Khabib, but Charles Oliveira is a better version than Ferguson. This is what a lot of people were saying. And
myself included. And yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, caused a lot of people that I know to pick Charles do Bronx Oliveira over Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, I did. But I would just like to say right now, the champ has a name. His name is Islam Makhachev.
Yes, that is fact. Man, Islam, I think, surprised a lot of people coming out with his striking. And people have said this for the longest time. They said, hey, Islam can strike. He's a better striker than Khabib. Nobody's coming out saying, hey, Islam is, Israel Adesanya type striker. Nobody's saying that. But people have been saying he's a better striker than Khabib ever was. Mm-hmm. And he came out and, he showed some hands in the very beginning.
Dude,
caught Charles Oliveira with some solid shots, bro.
Was it like the first exchange he landed the left straight right hook combo?
It was beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got ourselves a fight.
Yeah, and then the Bronx pulled guard, and I was like, Okay, yeah, take the takedown away, just give it to him. But also, it wasn't near the fence, so he could work submissions better. They're fresh, so they're not sweaty yet. Felt like that was a good move by Oliveira. If he's going to try to submit Makhachev, then yeah, why not pull guard in the center of the cage and then try to throw your legs up? And he did throw him up a couple times. He set up a triangle, set up an armbar. He sets up that armbar all the time where he'll try to hook the back leg and turn his hips with it. But he almost uses it as like a sweep or something. But Makhachev just stayed composed in his defense.
He said, I'm from Dagestan, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah,
I wrestle bears in my spare time.
Remember when Uncle Live?
Bear Jew?
Yeah, Uncle Live sat in Paul Craig's guard for all 3 rounds and then got subbed with like 10 seconds left.
Yeah,
but
dude,
that didn't happen in this one.
Look, Charles Oliveira has the record for the most submission wins in the UFC, right? So he's dangerous. Not just that, he's so active off his back, man. Mm-hmm. Elbows, little jabs, little punches. Like you said, he's constantly trying to throw submissions up. There's a couple times where I was like, maybe a triangle, like very close.
He did set it up,
right?
He set it up.
But
did a good job posturing.
I said on the predictions episode, I said, look, Islam's been wrestling bears since he was 2 years old. And on top of that, even worse, he's been wrestling Habib Nurmagomedov for 20 years, bro. For 20 years. Since they were little children in Dagestan. Okay, so I don't think Charles is going to throw anything up his way that he hasn't seen before.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Dude, and just looking at this, right? Because you always hear about Sambo. You always hear about the mixed martial art of Sambo. And you see a pretty big difference with your Sambo fighters versus just your regular jiu-jitsu practitioners and the wrestlers and the takedowns, right? Very similar to judo. A lot of similarities to your old school like Greco-Roman wrestling with a lot of submission knowledge on it as well. And I just see it in Habib. I see it in Islam. And I'm like, man, what a solid base to start with.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Also, shout out, ONE FC had their prime event and had their inaugural grappling championship for lightweight. Cade Rotolo took on a Sambo guy and wiped the floor with him. And I was like, man, if Oliveira could beat Islam, I'm going to change this title of this episode to if Sambo or if jiu-jitsu was easy, they'd call it Sambo, but then not quite.
That was easy if you called jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But that's classic.
Yeah, shout out also Regen's on. I was worried that he would miss it, that we came on 2 hours earlier, but shout out Regen. Charles called for a first round KO and came out and fought reckless. Gave Islam stand-up no respect and paid for it. I think he got caught surprised. I mean, I think it was the first, I have to rewatch it, but I think it was the first combo that Islam really threw, where that left straight, right hook combo that caught him clean, and Charles was like, oh, okay, I gotta be a little bit more respectful here, because he did just kind of run at him. Well, he did run at him, right? The start of the fight, he literally ran at him.
Yeah, threw a little high kick, and Islam was like, get that shit.
That's what got him knocked out. Or not knocked out, but knocked down. Floating knee.
The second attempt, Islam comes in with the left, and as he's coming down with the floating knee, then he meets him with the right hook right on the chin, drops him. And, usually Charles Oliveira gets dropped, and you're like, okay, it's a Charles Oliveira fight. Yeah. Nothing new here, right?
Yeah.
He gets dropped, he wins, whatever. But the top pressure and the slickness from Islam Makhachev, as soon as he hopped up, and got into what was it, side control? Did it get into mount right away? I can't remember.
Well, he passed him. He passed his guard while he was still hurt, while he was still stunned on the ground, and he collected the arm early,
immediately,
to the point where I don't think DeBronx really knew that the arm triangle was being set up right away. I think he was just like, oh yeah, it's in the scuffle of things, and then he just hopped over and was like, oh, well, this is probably over.
Well, and then the thing is too, right? And who knows how out of it Oliveira was. But when he's sinking in the arm triangle, I thought like, okay, he's okay. He's not bad. And then he tries to roll to his left. And as he rolls to his left, Islam's arm slides a little bit lower, right onto his neck. And then he turns back on his back. And the squeeze was just so tight at that point, and he just tapped right away. But amazing performance by Makhachev, man.
Yeah, and HLB Comer says, I felt like Charles was frozen on the feet and didn't really get to impose his game as in his previous fights, and his usual safe space, the ground was full of lava. Yeah, once he got cracked, it seemed like he did some good clinch work, which is what I was most interested to see because Islam did hit the trip in the first round.
Yep.
And I was like, man, because Islam does, and the way he got into the clinch was that casting punch like Fedor. He threw it in a combo, casting punch over the top, head and arm, hits the trip. And I was like, damn, there it is. But then every other clinch exchange, I thought Charles actually had the better of the exchanges.
Well, he had some solid
his
knees to the body too, man.
Mhm.
Solid knees to the body, and Charles Oliveira is very lanky.
Yeah, but then anytime they separated, it seemed like he was more focused about not getting clinched up again, more than let me land my strikes. Which, I mean, obviously, that's the point of having such a good wrestling base, is that strikers will be afraid to strike with you. And yeah, that's what played out. It seemed like Regen said 0 head movement, walking forward with no setups, throwing flying knees with no setups. Congrats to Islam. Yeah, that floating knee, Islam. It looked like Islam was just ready for it, because it is something that Charles does a lot, and then it is something that a lot of guys are able to time. If you throw naked floating knees, you have to be ready for that overhand that's going to come around.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're adding momentum to their punch basically every time you do that.
Then you see the picture here, right, where they invited Volkanovski into the octagon. They're talking about, hey, honestly. Yeah, it's a little cheesy. It's a little WWE kind of for me, but either way, they're talking about setting up the fight between Islam and Volkanovski. What are your thoughts on this, Will? Not on them meeting up in the octagon, but the fight itself.
Shouldn't happen.
No?
And we'll talk about, well, speaking of, HLB Comer says also Khabib's team came out 5 weeks before the fights. Most of their opponents got fucked by the desert location and the jet lag. This will come up again in the Belal fight. Another thing that will come up in a later fight is the Dariush snub, the absolute snub of Beneil Dariush. I don't want to see Volkanovski versus Islam. It does nothing for me. Dariush is the number 1 contender in my opinion.
I like it. And again, Dariush was scheduled to fight Charles Oliveira. And then I believe he rolled his ankle against the cage.
Oh, that was supposed to be against Islam.
Okay, and then he was scheduled against Charles Oliveira.
I thought Charles Oliveira pulled out. I don't remember him being scheduled against Oliveira.
Dude, I want to say he was booked against both of them, and for some reason.
Oh, he was. So he was scheduled against Oliveira in 2020, a long time ago. Oliveira fell through. Then he fought Diego Ferreira, Tony Ferguson. Then he was supposed to fight Islam because he was now top 5, and they were like, "Oh, Islam's gonna smash Dariush, and that will get him his title shot." That's when he broke his ankle, and they were like, "Islam title shot, anyways." No, they gave him that. But let's be real, dude. That they also told him he was the backup, and then they're like, "Actually, Volkanovski's the backup," and he was like, "What the fuck? I thought I was the backup." And then he beats the guy that everybody's like, he's the future of the division. We'll talk about it later, but Dariush should have been. He should be next. Math Prodigy says it's gimmicky, but I get it. They're trying to sell super fights. They've been known to do this, and it always feels forced. Yeah, has it ever felt good?
Onto the podcast, Math Prodigy. Thanks for joining us again.
Has it ever felt good?
No,
Remember
no.
when Brock
I don't think
came in with DC and Stipe.
Oh no, don't, dude. I don't want to think about that right now. It's too early for that.
His suit and his cowboy boots.
It's too early for that. It's too early for that. No, but yeah, he's right, man. They're trying to sell fights. There's some people out there. They're going to be like, "Oh, there it is. Look at them talking shit and getting ready for the next fight." It's a way for them to try to hype it up. But it is what it is. HLB Comer is saying the double champ status for Volk. He's deserved the right to try to go for it. And I agree, man. Volkanovski's he's cleaning up that division, man. He's doing work, and who are we, Will, to stop him?
So here's the thing. Volk definitely deserves out of all the champs, he's one of the most deserving of getting the opportunity to become a double champ. But I don't like when they do these fights when there's clear number 1 contenders. You know what I mean?
So would you do like a Volk versus Dariush?
No. A champ should, in my opinion, a champ like Volk should only go up to fight the champ. But the champ shouldn't get to skip the line. A champ in another division shouldn't be able to skip the line when there's a guy on an 8-fight win streak who is already scheduled to fight the 2 guys who just fought in this main event.
Well, what kind of win streak is Volk on, though?
Yeah, but he in a different division.
Yeah.
When Dariush was already the number 1 contender once, and then he was supposed to fight the title eliminator, that didn't happen, and then he just gets a win on the same night. It's Dariush. And the fact that he was brought there as they told him, you're going to be, in case something happens with the main event, you're the next guy. We're calling you. He's the number one contender. He fought a guy that nobody wants to fight.
Yeah. I'm usually with you when it comes to not slowing down the division. In this case with Volkanovski, I say, just do it. Give it to Volk. I know Dariush, dude, and I like Dariush, especially recently. Again, like I said, he's been on a resurgence lately. Dariush has been catapulted, into the top 5. He's been fighting killers. The way he's been finishing his fights lately. But man, Volkanovski's just on another level.
In another division.
Yeah. But who's to say that he won't be on another level in this division as well? There's only one way to find out, and that's by putting him in there right away against Makhachev.
Against the worst.
He loses against Makhachev, and then he goes back down to 145.
I mean, and that's the other thing too. Stylistically, it's just not the most interesting fight to me.
But also, you know what?
The names, for sure.
Let him get paid.
Yeah, I'll be crossing
so much more money. He's gonna make mucho more money.
Look, am I gonna watch it? Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, we're all gonna watch it, dude.
But I don't know. For lightweight specifically, it has been so fucked for so long with all these holdups of guys not taking fights below them and all this stuff. And there's finally a true number one contender, and we're like, we're gonna put you aside. You're gonna have to fight somebody else. And I agree with HLB Comer. Volk has cleaned out his division. There's not a lot of fights for him there, but that doesn't mean that there's no fights for the lightweights. And I don't know. It's always kind of weird when there's a super fight between two champs when one of them literally just got the belt. It's like that's kind of weird also for me. It's not that's not the biggest deal, but it is kind of weird. It's like this guy just got the belt. What
if, let's say Volkanovski announced, hey, I'm relinquishing my belt at 145. I'm focusing on 155. That's it. No mas. Just 155. Would you then say, okay, well then now you have to fight Dariush, or would you say no, you're getting a title shot?
No, if he dropped the belt, yeah, it's champ or nothing. I mean, when a champ like
then what's the difference?
When a champ like Volk goes to another division, it has to be for the belt. It's stupid to have them fight a number one contender, but that shit sucks for Dariush, who just keeps getting pushed to the side.
Nobody's saying it doesn't suck for Dariush. Yeah, but he'll get there eventually, maybe.
You never know, man. This is what happens, man. Look at JoJo. She was supposed to fight for the belt. Valentina pulls out. She fights in a short notice fight instead. Loses.
Time out.
Never gets a title shot.
Are you comparing Dariush to JoJo right now?
If he never gets a title shot, yeah. Dude, that's what happens. These guys who deserve title. Look at Jacare Souza. This happens all the time. Tony Ferguson. All the time, these guys deserve their title shot and then end up never getting it because of the money fights. And it sucks.
That's different though, because JoJo should not even be considered for a title shot. The only reason that she was close to a title shot is because she's in that 125 crappy division. Andrew Toasty, hey, shout out Andrew Toasty joining us. Cerrone. Hey, Cerrone got his title shots up.
Eventually, yeah.
He got his title shots.
Yeah.
Right? Did he get 2 title shots? I think. I know he lost to Anthony Pettis.
I don't remember. It's too early. I think Will would be fine with all this just after Beneil gets a shot. Exactly. Let Beneil fight Islam. Look, does he even win that fight? Probably not. I don't even think he wins that fight. But the dude is on an 8-fight win streak in the toughest division of the sport, and they're like, "We need 9. We need 9." It's fucking crazy.
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one for me. But either way, I'm excited to see what happens in the division. Islam Makhachev. I think we both picked him in the beginning of the year prediction show. No?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, in the beginning of the year prediction show, I'm pretty sure we both picked him. Maybe.
Shout out Andrew Toasty. He's got a fight this upcoming weekend, and I found out last night the guy he's fighting. I grew up playing Little League with him. I finally actually looked at the poster and I was like, "Whoa, that dude looks familiar." And then I looked him up on Instagram and I was like, "What the fuck? I played baseball."
Hey, so you have some insider info. Can you share it with Toasty before he goes in?
Haven't seen the guy in like 10 years.
You're like, hey, Toasty, careful, man. This guy has a crazy slider.
Hey. He's got a great swing.
He's got a great swing. Be careful, Toasty.
Yeah.
HLB Comer asked a great question. Who's next for Oliveira, though? And, the cool thing about Oliveira, how gracious is he in defeat, man? they're raising Islam's hand. He's holding his hand over, pointing at Islam like, hey, dude,
Yeah.
great job, right?
There's a lot of respect between the two of them.
There's a lot of respect. And then he didn't say, I demand another title shot. He said, hey, get me back in there as soon as possible to get me back in a position to fight for the title, which you don't see too often from somebody that just lost the title. Let's be real. He didn't come in holding the title, but he was the champion, right?
He was the champ. The champ had a name.
And it used to be Charles Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah. But I think, okay, hold on. HOB Comer might have just solved it.
Yeah.
Beneil versus Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, Regens did the same thing. Yeah. That's the fight to make. If Volk does skip the line, then that's what you do.
All right, so we're gonna kick what's the name out, Sean Shelby, and we're gonna put HOB Comer and Regen in, and we'll be done.
Yeah,
matchmakers for life.
Matchmakers for life.
All right, do we want to move on to the next one?
Let's see. Is there anything else for that one? Hamzat and Abu Bakr got in a fight during this one.
Oh yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. Other than that,
dude, I think I put it on Instagram. I was like, dude, I feel like every week I hear about a new scuffle that Hamzat Chimaev was involved in.
Yeah, pretty much.
That guy just likes to fight.
Let him fight, dude.
Yeah, let him bang.
Just let him bang, bro.
Somebody's just let him bang.
Toasty says, Regen says, I'm not heartless enough to be a UFC matchmaker. Toasty says, I say sit Dariush, let the man take a break till he gets his shot. He's not Gaethje or something like that, or fans are clamoring to see. Here's the thing about Dariush. Because fans are not clamoring to see him, if he sits and waits, he will 100% be skipped. They will not let him wait for a shot.
Yeah, and I don't think he has the name power to where he's like, hey, if you guys don't give me a title shot, I'm sitting out. I'm going to wait till I get a title shot. There's some fighters that could do that. There's some fighters that could do that.
Here's what's going to happen. Volk is going to fight Islam. Flip it. Volk's going to fight Islam, and he's going to lose. And Islam's going to keep the belt. And Poirier and Michael Chandler are going to fight, and the winner of that is going to get a title shot over Oliveira or over Dariush. You could guarantee it. Guarantee
it. All right. Let's move on, yeah?
Yeah.
And this is why I said, hey, we can't cover that many fights today because we're going to talk a lot about the fights that we're on, right?
25 minutes in.
Yeah. All right, we had TJ Dillashaw, Pillashaw versus Aljamain Sterling.
This was a bummer.
Okay. It was a bummer. So right off the bat, the fight starts. And, dude, one of the things that I love about TJ Dillashaw, cheating or no cheating, CEO of EPO or not, is that his ability to, like, switch stances as he's walking in with the head bobs. His footwork is beautiful. I think it's the funnest footwork I enjoy watching the UFC. Fuck Dom Cruz. No, I say that like about his footwork. I'm not saying about that like the person because I'm starting to like the guy. But I'm saying like footwork. I think that the best footwork in the UFC that I've seen so far has been from TJ Dillashaw.
It's very good.
It's fantastic. And then I'm like, here we go. Classic TJ. And then he gets taken down.
Shoots.
Aljo shoots, gets taken down. And I'm like, that looks weird on his shoulder. That looks like something.
Is he screaming?
Yeah, I was like, what is going on right now? Oh my! Regen asked a great question. How much were the hot dogs at the event? I don't even want to know. This was Dubai. Dude, they're probably $100 or more.
Yeah, they're like importing hot dogs. And
yeah, but yeah. So like you said, he gets taken down right away. He like starts pulling on his arm while he's on his back, and Aljamain's trying to gain better position. And like you said, he starts wincing. He starts screaming a little bit. And right away, we know there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
There's a problem. Dislocated shoulder right off the bat.
And then it turns out that he didn't do open workouts. During the Wednesday, during the fighter meetings with the commentary crew, he pulled DC aside and wanted to tell him something, and then DC forgot to go back to him because that's DC. He was probably drunk if you're Dominic Cruz. But apparently this is something he's been dealing with. He didn't do open workouts. And he didn't warm up in the back. And Mark Goddard knew. They told Mark Goddard, hey, his shoulder keeps popping out. Just something to keep your eye on. And HLB Comer said,
well, they told him, if it pops out, don't worry. Don't stop it.
Yeah.
Goddard's like, okay.
Yeah, and HLB Comer says TJ should have pulled out. Would have never picked him if I knew he was injured. Oh well, father time. Exactly. I think we both picked TJ in this one. I think prime TJ versus this Aljo definitely beats him, but he's injured, and like he says, father time. And part of the issue with that footwork, and it's not like you said, it's not exactly the same as Dominic Cruz's, but the switching stances, the leaning, the shifting constantly, it's tough on the knees. He's had surgery on his knees. He blew his ACL out in his last fight. He had to sit out forever for this one. Now a shoulder surgery. I believe he's had shoulder surgeries before. I mean, it's a tough game, and that style is hard on your body.
You know what steroids do, Will? They allow you to push your body. They allow you. We're not supporting steroid usage, but they allow you to push your body beyond its limits.
Yeah.
Where a normal person not on steroids says, hey, I need a rest today because my body is ailing. It needs to recover. They pop some pills. All of a sudden, they're like, hey, here we go. We can work out some more. We can get some extra sparring sessions in. And then what ends up happening eventually is your body says, hey, dude, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just can't, and I think that's a big part of this, man, is, TJ has always been known to push and push and push. And at the ripe age of 36, well, that's a little bit older for MMA. I get it. But still, like he's just breaking down, man, in front of our own eyes. And it's sad to see. It's a bummer. Yeah. It's a bummer. Now, that being said, I agree with you. You Mark Goddard, what are we doing here? Like, like if they're telling you, hey, just a heads up, you might see a shoulder pop out a few times. It's been popping out for the last.
We can't even hit the pads because it's really popping out.
But if it pops out, just don't stop it. And this is where it becomes a problem. This picture right here, perfect timing from Rich, the casual that put it up, our producer. Look at how he's holding his left arm. He's compromised, man. If you're Mark Goddard, your job is to protect the fighters. And I get that the fighter is like, hey, no problem, dude. It's been doing it. Yeah. We'll pop it back in. Not a worry. But in the middle of the fight, his shoulders popped out. He has been able to pop it back in. He's getting punched repeatedly with Sterling on mount.
Yeah, the ground and pound was nasty.
The ground and pound was nasty. That's some of the most damage I've seen TJ take his entire career, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, even on the ground for the ground and pound, he couldn't even really get to his hips because of the shoulder. Like you could tell, he was just kind of sitting there getting punched because he couldn't move and he couldn't block, which is like, why are we doing this?
And I agree with HLB Comer, right, where he's saying, hey, he should have pulled out of the fight. And this is what like my thought process around this. At first, I was thinking, okay, the ego's a bitch. For you to be able to say, hey, my shoulder's popping out, but I got this. I fucking fought through a blown knee. I could fight through a separated shoulder. But then they go through the interview. And by the way, fantastic interview with TJ. I think that it was very, very good. Where he says, I apologize for holding up the division. It's a stacked weight class. And because it's a stacked weight class, I didn't want to have to wait another year for a title shot. And I put myself in the shoes. I was like, dude, that absolutely makes sense, man. TJ,
from his mindset, 100%.
I forgive you for everything, TJ. Okay?
Yeah.
And then
the EPO as well.
Yeah. He said he had dislocated it 20 times during training camp. First off, I don't know how accurate that is unless they're keeping a tally on the wall over there. And also he gave hats off to Aljamain, he said.
I mean, let's be real. TJ is a respectful guy when there's no beef. Toasty said the doctors cleared him to fight. I think the fault is on the athletic commission more than Mark. Here's the difference.
Hey, coming from a fighter, he might be right.
And here's the thing, though. Mark, the athletic commission did not know about it. They hid it from him. The athletic commission clearly does not do their due diligence because they let Michael Bisping fight with one eye for years. And he had to fake. Yeah, he faked the tests over and over and over again, and they couldn't catch on to that. So they didn't find out about it. The difference is Mark did find out about it. And granted, if you're in Mark's shoes, imagine you're a ref, and right before a title fight in the co-main event on the biggest card of the year, they're like, "Hey, just so you know, we're not even hitting pads because his shoulder keeps popping out, and like, please just don't stop the fight when it happens." And he's like, "Hey, should I cancel this fight before it happens? The co-main event on the biggest card? Should I be that guy? If I'm Mark Goddard, I'm not stopping it either. I'm gonna let it roll." Yeah. I'm not going to be the guy who kills it right before it starts.
And Toasty, if you could do me a favor, man, just let me know how much do they actually take a look at that, right? When the doctor's in the back, when they're checking to see if you're able to fight. Do they have you lift both arms? Do they have you shake your shoulders out to make sure nothing's popping out of place? Like, no, I'm really curious.
They're all
Like, what does
yanking on
that
you and
look
shit?
like?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wonder, like, would they have been able to catch that, and what would they have to do? So just when you have a chance, if you could post that on there, Tosi, for all of us to know.
Yeah, and HLB Comer
now-
says, but we have to mention TJ won the press conference when Aljo was going on about the steroids, and TJ went, "You can come, you can come test me yourself. Test these nuts." There were some nice exchanges there.
That was really
Better
good. That was
exchanges
really good.
in that than the fight itself.
Tosi says depends on the doctor, and see that's the thing. A lot of the doctors that the commission hires, like the doctors where like somebody gets their eye poked and they cover the eye that's poked and they're like, "Follow my finger." It's like, well, dude, just cover the eye that can't see.
Or when the eye's swollen, they're like, "All right, we're gonna have to do this thing," and they're like, "First, let me just hold that eye open for you so you can see."
Can you see? Oh man.
Yeah.
Math prodigy TJ told everyone at the last minute. May be wrong, but big event, ton of money on the line. TJ wanted to go out on the travesty is TJ didn't disclose this sooner. Yeah.
And
regen.
It's like the worst. It's the worst of both worlds for this situation, because if TJ told people earlier, he would get to pull out and not get a TKO loss. And if he told people later, he could have got this paid for by the UFC, but now he has to pay for it.
Hey, breaking news. Our listener Regen says he's had one amateur fight. They just checked his heart rate.
They just checked my heart rate.
They're like, hey, can you put this Fitbit on for a couple minutes?
Hey.
And you look good, dude.
Hey, is your heart beating? All right, you can go out there.
Tosi says I've seen the doctor literally not even touch the fighter and just push him along. I've also seen him do a full physical. I'd probably be the doctor that walks in and is like, hey, how you feeling, man? You doing okay? Ready to fight?
All right,
we'll see you out there.
Do you want to fight? I'm not going to take your opportunity away from you.
One last thing before we move on. Aljamain Sterling, on the opposite end of the spectrum, he knows that he fought somebody that was compromised. Let's be real. Yeah. You did not fight.
Hey, we're going to keep hating on Aljo.
You know what? But the thing is that he's making it so easy. He's making it so easy, right? Because Aljo, put me in your corner, and I'll be your PR. Yeah. Hey, we fought the TJ. I didn't expect to fight a TJ that wasn't 100%. At the end of the day, this is a title defense for me. I'm happy that we came out with the win. I'm going to go partner with my team. We'll see what's going on, blah, blah, blah. We'll see who's next in line. I'm just sad that we didn't get to fight a full 100% TJ because that's what I prepared for. Boom, done, right? Whoa. And then what ends up happening, I mean, come on. For him to go on there and later on and say, oh, well, I took him down. Then, backpack.
I see what you're saying, yeah. But here's the thing.
It's a rap. Come on.
Hey, the backpack, it's a rap. And it was. Look, he went out there and he did his job. Plain and simple. I don't want him to be all bummed about it after the fight because he defended his belt. And the only thing that matters is keeping that belt and getting pay-per-view points in your next fight. And he secured that. I'd be stoked too. I'd be happy as hell.
Yeah, I guess, man. But that's different. Being happy as hell versus like just saying, "Hey, I dominated this fight with this guy with one arm." Come on.
But he's in there also trying to sell the next fight, and he's been leaning into this whole shtick since the Petr Yan fight. I think he knows what he's doing.
I guess maybe.
You're eating it up. He's selling you Wolf tickets, and you're eating it up right now.
I am. All right, you want to move on to the next fight?
Yeah, the most controversial of the night. Besides Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot, this is the most controversial of the whole night.
All right. Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley. I see you sporting the Sean O'Malley shirt.
I was going to wear it no matter what. It's a sick shirt. Let's be real.
It's a sick shirt.
Win or lose, I was going to wear it.
All right, going in. We'll talk about the fight, then we'll talk about the end result and what you think and all this other stuff, right? O'Malley, I think, always does a very good job finding his range as quickly as possible, right? Yeah. He's a fast starter. That's why he has so many first-round TKOs and stuff like that. But I think he does such a good job of finding his range right off the bat.
Yeah, he is very good at that.
And on the opposite end, Petr's usually a little bit of a slower starter.
Some would say the slowest in the UFC.
Yes. But that first round, I think, was up in the air for me.
So live watching it, the first round was very close for me. I kind of had Sean edging it out watching it live. First off, I want to give props to Sean because he came into this fight, nobody giving him a shot because except for HW Comer, he picked Sean. Shout out HW Comer, but Sean O'Malley comes in and he's fighting Petr Yan, who just had the belt. A lot of people think that when Aljo took the belt from him, that it wasn't like he bested him with the scoring, but a lot of people think he's not a better fighter. That's not my opinion. That's just what a lot of people think. People see Petr Yan as an absolute killer. People think Sean is fragile. So going into this is like, yeah, he's going to break Sean. This is a crazy matchup. I cannot believe they did this.
Me included.
And, yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. And Sean, regardless if you thought he won or lost, he proved that he does deserve to be at the top of the division and that he can hang with these guys and he can pass those tests of adversity because he got cracked in this fight worse than he's ever been cracked by a guy who knocks people out and stuck through it. And I want to give him props for that. I think he proved a lot of people's wrong. Whether you think he won or lost, he deserves to be here. Would you agree with that?
Yes. So like I was saying, I'll cover the second round real quick.
Yeah.
Second round, O'Malley catches Yan with an extending left, which I believe is that one right there. Rocks Yan a little bit. Yan's recovery is amazing too, man. Because that was a hard shot. But then
we know Sean hits hard.
He does. Yan responds with a big left that nearly drops O'Malley. You see his legs.
That was
buckle.
crazy.
That was nuts, man. And the
fact that Sean ate that and kept going and didn't fold.
A lesser man would have folded.
I think a previous Sean would have folded.
And then, Petr Yan working his jab, started pushing forward a lot more in the second round, like he usually does. And
no, he doesn't.
In the second round?
No, Tosi.
Oh, okay.
I was like, Sean hits hard. Tosi goes, no, he doesn't.
Now, with Petr Yan having such a height difference and reach difference, he had to use his footwork a little more, and he had to be willing to eat a couple of small shots from O'Malley every time he was coming in.
Yeah,
and O'Malley does a very good job of being active and just peppering them with like small shots, which
straight shots.
In the judge's eyes, he's like, wow. This guy's super active. He's landing a lot of shots. Yeah. But how many of those shots are really damaging Yan?
And then the third, he comes in and lands that knee, man, because Petr kept doing the mummy guard and then the whatever, can't think of it, but the high guard, right? And Sean steps in, pulls him down, knees him in the head, splits his his eyebrow open, has him hurt there for a sec, and is teeing off on him, kind of. Petr does a good job of shelling, right? But he is teeing off on him, regardless of if they're getting through or not. He is teeing off on him, and I don't know. So
look at that knee.
Picture. What a great picture, God! It was a beautiful knee. So going into the decision, I was like, all right, well, the second round was clearly Petr, right? Sean hurt him in the second round, but he hurt him back immediately, worse than he was hurt, and kind of dominated the rest of that round, I thought. But the third round, I thought Sean took that one because, he clearly did more damage in that one. Busted him open with a big knee, was picking him apart kind of for a while. The first round is what it comes down to. I was kind of surprised by the massive backlash of this decision. I'll be honest.
I had to go back and watch this fight again.
I watched it right before we went live. Sean won. Petr Yan cannot take those first rounds off, especially in a 3-round fight. It's the same thing that just lost him the belt in the Aljamain fight. Mm-hmm. Everybody watching it was like, "Oh, Petr Yan won that fight," and you look at the first round. And he gives it up, and it looks, while you're watching it live, it looks like he's like dominating because he's walking you down. He's shot high guarding. You're hitting him with shots, and he's blocking them. And then he throws something, and then he's walking down the whole time. But walking you down and throwing a couple leg kicks does not outweigh the straight punches that Sean was landing the full round. He outstruck him. Yeah, he was on the back foot, but he hit him way cleaner than Petr hit him. He hit him more than Petr hit him. Yes, Petr got the takedown. But with 30 seconds of top control, he landed 2 punches that were not heavy. And then Sean got right back up. I thought his takedown defense was actually pretty damn good. Sean took that round.
I thought the second round was clearly Yan's.
Clearly,
in my eyes.
Yeah.
The third round, and let me say, I have so much respect for the fighters where they go into the third round and the corner says, hey, this is a close fight and you have to come out guns a-blazing. And when the fighter does that, it's like, man, this fighter has some freaking balls to go in there and just lay it all on the line. Because Sean O'Malley came out like an animal that third round.
Yeah.
Because they said it could very well go either way. Mm-hmm. And so then for me, like I said, it comes down to that first round. Yeah. O'Malley landed some solid shots. Petr had the takedown, but then I asked myself, what did he do with that takedown? O'Malley ended up getting back up. So he had top control, and how much damage did he really inflict during that top control? And it wasn't very much. So after I rewatched this the second time, I thought to myself, this isn't that bad of a decision. I still think it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way. Me personally,
so a couple things.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
Me personally, I had Sean taking rounds 1 and 3, but it could have gone either way.
So for me, O'Malley proved that he belongs here.
100%.
Petr Yan is an absolute killer. He belongs at the top of the division, and he's probably going to get a title shot next.
Yeah.
Right. Next, O'Malley wants some respect from me. And I'm sure that now O'Malley will be able to sleep at night now that he knows that he won my respect.
Yeah.
But the things that he said during his interview that I absolutely loved, when they asked him, did you think that you did enough to win the fight? He said, honestly, I wasn't sure if I did enough.
Yeah.
That was awesome. 2, thought it could have gone either way. 3, said he hurt me more than I have ever been in a fight. He said, I was rocked.
Yeah.
Right? And then when they asked him, what's next for you? Instead of saying, I should fight next for the title, I'm next in line, he said, he didn't demand a fight. He said, I need to go back, rewatch the fight, and decide after that. For me, the humility that he showed at the end of that fight was fantastic. He's been pushed harder than he had ever been pushed before. This is his first time not fighting a huge can, right? And he proved himself. And that didn't go very well.
It did not go very well.
You're absolutely well. You're absolutely right. That didn't go very well. But
no, he gained some respect. I think from a lot of people.
He gained some respect.
Here's what
Regen says, you guys are swaying me. I am pretty biased towards Petr. Dude, trust me, I was biased towards Petr too. I watched the fight. By the way, I'm at my son's baseball game. I'm watching O'Malley versus Petr Yan. This is a true story. And my wife asked me, she's like, are you watching the fights right now? And I said, yeah, it's Sean O'Malley versus Petr Yan. She's like, put your phone away. And I said, oh, damn, okay. So I'm like a kid. I'm sitting there all sad.
This is going to be fight of the night.
Yeah. So when I had watched, I was like, oh, Petr has this in the bag, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to go back and rewatch it. And that's when I was like, you know what? I think this was a good decision.
Yeah. And HLB Comer said when he tried to trip Yan, props for the balls for him to go for it. Because Petr hit that sweep, right, where he steps across the outside trip and pushes you over it. And Sean popped right back up. And then he tried to hit Yan with it. He said that he trained that in a training camp a bunch of times, but Jan's too short for it to work against him.
Elijah Grant says, that was the worst decision I have ever seen. Elijah, thanks for joining us on the podcast, man. Appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe if you haven't already. But Elijah, I challenge you, man. Find a link out there. Unless you purchase pay-per-view, go back and rewatch it. But rewatch it. Take the sound out of it. Take the sound out. No announcers, no nothing, and just watch damage inflicted first round. Really,
all that matters is the first round. All that matters is the first round.
Second round, clearly Yan. Third round, clearly O'Malley. Just watch that first round, unbiased, and see how it goes.
And don't just look at who's walking forward, because that's what Petr does. He walks you down in the first round. He shells up. He makes these reads, and it looks like he's doing things, that he's the aggressor and all this stuff, but
Coleslaw
he's also getting picked apart. Shout out Coleslaw out there catching tuna fish in the Monterey Bay. Big-ass tunas. It's crazy. They're bigger than him.
That's awesome. Shout out Coleslaw, though. Good dude, man. Good dude.
And HLB Comer's right. Don't let the colors fool you. O'Malley's a very smart guy, humble and very cerebral. It's true, man. He puts on this persona, right, and it gets him fights like this. It gets him to skip from 12-1. But the reality is the guy knows the game. And everyone's like, he only fights cans. He only fights cans. And he's like, yeah, I'm only making $20,000 a fight. I'm not going to fight Petr Yan for $20,000. Fuck that. I'll start taking harder fights when they start paying me more. And then they're like, they renegotiated their contract. He starts getting paid more. And all of a sudden, He's fighting Petr Yan. This is what
Yeah,
happens.
I used
Can't
to like
knock
him
him
up
for it.
until like the whole Cheeto Vera thing. He's like, I'm still undefeated, and I'm like, okay,
Hey,
bro.
but why did he say? What you think he realized? You think he actually thinks he didn't lose that fight? He's doing
Dude,
that
he's
to
high as
get that
balls
reaction.
all the time. He's high as balls all
No,
the time. He might have.
HW Comer's right. He is very cerebral. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. No, but I think for me too is like he has this little shtick going on.
Mhm.
And the one like true matchup he had, he lost. And it's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
then the shtick's not that funny, you know? But I think now,
Yeah.
taking out Petr Yan, maybe a Cheeto Vera rematch. We'll see what happens. But maybe now I'll like the shtick. I don't know.
If I'm Sean, I'm probably trying to get a Cheeto Vera fight for a Toasty. I'm high as balls all the time too. If I'm O'Malley, I don't know if I really want to take the Aljo fight. I think I'd probably want to do the rematch with Cheeto, but it's like, how do you say no to the title shot? It's so difficult. But stylistically, it's a really bad matchup for him. Aljo's wrestling is so goddamn good. But so is Petr Yan's. And Sean O'Malley did a very good. You see him roll for that omoplata to get the sweep and then get back up.
Oh, that was so sick.
Dude, he looked very good on the ground.
That was so sick.
Takedown defense wasn't quite there, but man, he was very good off his back. HW Comer says, even the way he reacted to Yan calling him a hooker on the side of the road, asked for a response. He just acknowledged that it was a good joke. Shows he has no ego, which is super important. He gets it.
Yeah, that was pretty good. When they look back, they're like, do you have any response? And he goes, nah, that was good.
Yeah.
that was really good. Great call. All right. We got about 15 minutes left, Will, and we have a few fights to cover. I know, man. I told you. We're going to have to cover so much with the fights. Your boy.
And we're still covering the whole Amazon, the ONE FC on Amazon Prime 3. We have to cover that one.
We'll move on to Mateusz Gamrot versus your man crush Beneil Dariush.
Hey, look, I picked Mateusz Gamrot, and I would be lying if I said that all the way until the last second, I was still hoping he was going to finish Dariush. I did not want Dariush to win this fight, but he did, and he looked very good in it, and I got to give him props for it.
Yeah, he did, man. And Dariush, look, dude, we know what we're going to get with Dariush, right? His striking, I feel like the evolution of Dariush has gotten so much better. The counter striking is money. And Gamrot, a very good wrestler. And the thing that we forget is that Dariush is a world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Yeah.
Like no-gi world champion.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu practitioner.
But that doesn't mean you have good takedown defense.
No, it doesn't. And his takedown defense was solid.
Very good.
And even when one of the favorite parts of the entire night for me were the transitions between these guys in that first round. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, and I know it sounds super corny and it's like nerdy and stuff like that, but I'm like, dude, it's like watching them dance in a way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's something magical going on, you know? But dude, I'm like,
agreed.
I'm watching this and I'm like, dude, that's just beautiful to watch, dude.
Yeah.
It's so good. Now, the one issue that I ran into a little bit later is that Mateusz, after a while, stopped trying to set the takedown up.
Well, I think it's because he was getting lit up. The setups. Here's the thing: he was setting up the takedowns with his hands, but Dariush was making him counter before he could actually start the takedown, the entry. And then when he would get the entry, he was getting stuffed. So then he couldn't set him up anymore because he was getting lit up off of his setups. That's how good Dariush's counter striking was. So he was kind of just lost. He was lost.
It was a fun fight. HLB Comer saying the man is legit crazy. There's a BT interview apparently where he says, I'm always angry. And I believe it, dude. I believe it.
He's on an 8-fight win streak. They haven't given him a title shot. I'd be angry too.
Oh, dude, that left that he landed in the third round.
Oh my God, dude. Just dropped him.
And the way that Dariush reacted looked like he thought it's a walk-off.
Yeah.
But Gamrot, dude, the quick recovery was amazing.
Yeah. Coleslaw says Chookagian about to sell the fuck out of those Halloween costumes.
But yeah,
this was good. I want to give Dariush props, right? Because he fought Gamrot, who is one of those guys. There's a group of guys at lightweight for a while that nobody would want to talk about. Nobody wanted to acknowledge them. No one wants to fight them. And it's guys like Gamrot, Islam Makhachev, Fiziev, Arman Tsarukyan, all these guys who are they're getting forced to fight each other rather than getting their shots going up because all these guys in the top 5 won't fight down. Here's Dariush fighting down, saying, fine, I'll be the guy who gives you a shot. And let me show you that you do not deserve to be in this top 5 yet. And Gamrot will be, I think, eventually. But Dariush really won me over. This is a big win in my opinion. This is a bigger win than it seems like on paper, I think.
Yeah.
Because not only did he beat him, but he outclassed him. Gamrot had nothing for him. I think one of the judges gave Gamrot the first round, and I don't know how. Dariush looked phenomenal.
All right, man. Now that we're done talking about your boy Dariush, let's move on. We had Katlyn Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot.
Biggest fight of the card.
I know why everybody purchased a pay-per-view. Yeah. And this is it. This is the one that everybody was tuning in for.
Unlike their striking, this one was can't miss. I mean, they could not hit each other. Fiorot ended up landing a lot more, but man, these punches were 10 inches away from the target every single time.
Oh man. And
I felt like I was going crazy watching this in the first round because DC was like, man, Chookagian's just her game is so good, like you just can't get in on her. She's just doing what she needs to do. And they're like, I was like, what are they watch? She's not landing any of these punches. What are they watching?
No. Literally the worst nickname ever. Which one are we talking about?
Blonde Fighter. It's gotta be Blonde Fighter.
Really? Is that whose nickname is that?
Chookagian. Katlyn, Blonde Fighter, Chookagian. Solid.
Well, her nickname is as exciting as her fighting style. And I said, look,
we're just going in.
She's a crafty veteran, I said, right? She's a crafty veteran. She has some movement, that kind of made it a little bit difficult for Manon Fiorot to tee off like she has on other fighters in the past. But I think this is perfect right here. Like, I think that the way that they screen as they're throwing a strike, not necessarily landing a strike.
Don't lump Fiorot into that. That was just her. That was just her.
But this was a fight. And
what was it?
Yeah.
But was it even?
The only thing I would say is, Chookagian, what are you doing here, right? Because if she was trying to come in here and show Fiorot that she doesn't belong as a number one contender, make it as dirty as possible. Don't stand in her range. Push her up against a effing cage. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they both have very similar styles. They both have very similar styles.
Yeah, but you know what? You both have similar styles, but Fiorot is good at it.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Toshi says that this was a match. It was a match, not a fight. It was a match.
Yes.
Also, he says DC 1000% not allowed to say how he feels on these fights. Yeah, next time you see DC at Ant Dogs, tell him he's got to cool his jets on the Chookagian hype train.
All right. Let's move on, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Brady. Sean Brady versus Belal Muhammad.
I cannot believe this was not on the main card.
I mean, they could have just flipped Chookagian and Brady.
That's what they should have
done. But I know that they also have to have a solid fight to end the undercard, right? It's like the main event of the undercard. They have to. But yeah.
HOB Comer saying that match sounded like a tennis match.
Yeah, the screaming every time they hit, you know what I mean? That's exactly it. Well, Muhammad ate some shots early. Okay, some pretty big shots.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about the last fight still. Now, this was a bit of a slower start for Belal Muhammad than I'm used to seeing, because Belal Muhammad, he's always known as a pressure fighter, right? So I was surprised that he kind of started off a little bit slower on this one.
Yeah, you might need to take the lead on this one, because I don't think I'm actually on the live stream. I don't know if my audio is.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm gonna leave Brady, and then come back.
I'm gonna show, or I'm just gonna go based off the notes that I have here. Right. Quick step in jab, left hook for Brady was money the entire night. But the thing that Belal did a very, very good job of was whenever Brady landed a big shot, Belal knew that he had to respond with something right off the bat. So Brady would land a big right, Belal would eat the shot and come back with a left right off the bat. So he would always respond after a big shot. But then Belal, remember the name, Belal Muhammad, okay? He turns up the pressure second round, a la Belal Muhammad. We're used to seeing that crazy pressure, and he lands that big right on Sean Brady that just rocks him. And the killer instinct on Belal Muhammad afterwards was money, dude.
Yeah, I don't know what you said before this, but yeah, Belal proved some guys wrong, including myself. He just out peppered Sean Brady. Sean Brady was landing the left hook a lot. I'm sure you mentioned that in the
Well, I
first
mentioned
round.
that whenever Brady was landing a big shot, Belal did a really good job of responding with a big shot of his own. There was urgency to say, "Hey, I can't just let him tee off on me and not do anything."
Sean showed a big hole in this fight, and I mean he's undefeated going into this, so like he just hasn't been corrected on it yet, and so I'm very interested to see how he comes back from this one. But every time he would open, he would land that lead left hook, right? Not as a check hook, but as like a lunging one. And anytime he extended his combo, Belal was able to just sit back. He would eat the left hook. He was eating the left hook over and over, but he would sit back after, and he'd land that right straight over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean Brady, every time he would extend his combos out of like further than just that left hook, he was just leaving himself open for that punch over and over and over again. And eventually it was just too much. And Belal, like you said, once he smelled the blood, he just would not let him off. And yeah, standing TKO.
Yeah, and HOB Comer says here, what did Khabib tell Belal as the first thing after the fight, the first round? Jet lag, brother.
Jet lag, brother.
Brady came out a week before the fight. Belal was there for part of Khabib's team for 5 weeks.
And how much did they spend, that camp? They spent over $1 million on this camp, and part of it was because they decided to go that early over to Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
Paid off.
There's people left and right asking for Khabib to coach him now. I think Brian Ortega sent a message out saying, Khabib, please coach me.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to. I mean, do you think anybody would say no? Except for Conor? You'd say no? You'd be like, I'll teach Khabib.
Yeah, exactly. I'll teach you a thing or two. Andrew Toast saying Belal over here finally realizing judges aren't the only way to win a fight. That's true. That is true. HOB Comer saying Will is doing the John Cena, guys. We can hear him, but we can't see him. That's that was awesome. All right. That's all I got on this fight. Anything else?
No. We're at 58 minutes. Belal, great job.
All right, and we'll just cover Mokaev versus Gordon real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna skip pretty much every other fight because we're already an hour in.
Toasty has Bula's 1-0 in cornering. That's a great stat we didn't mention.
Yeah, he signed a contract with the UFC.
Yeah, there we go. But Mokaev came out a little bit more wild than usual, huh? I think it was a little hyped up because of the crowd.
Dude, he was so hyped up because of the crowd. In his walkout, he's like winking at the camera. He's like, ooh, like feeling himself all crazy. And then Malcolm Gordon was like, hey, man, like,
you still got to fight.
I'm pretty good. Like, dude, but yeah, Mokaev, we have to talk about it. I see just a lot of people saying that the hype train is derailed. I disagree. The guy's like 20 years old. He's now 8-0. This was his 8th professional fight in the UFC. And he fought Look, Malcolm Gordon is legit. Do I think he's ever going to be a champ? I say this with all respect. Probably not. But this is a big test for Mokaev, and he did a good job early. But yeah, he got a little reckless. I think he
left himself open quite a bit just going in.
Yeah, and I think if he kind of just chilled out a little bit, he probably would have had more success standing, because I think he didn't realize the success he was having on the feet. But I want to give Malcolm Gordon huge props for that takedown in the 3rd round, that slam. Beautiful. Yep. Beautiful.
What the takedown in the 3rd round, and I think that just throughout the entire fight, Mokaev underestimated the grappling of Gordon.
So. Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. He got swept a couple times.
Fun fight.
Yeah, got his back taken. I liked this fight a lot, and these are the types of fights that I look forward to.
1-1 going into the 3rd. What do you think?
I don't remember.
You don't remember when? Yeah. Well, you don't have to go back. I don't know if this is a fight you're going to want to go back and watch.
I'll rewatch it.
You probably have Ryzen and Uriah Faber's league and all kinds of other.
I do have to catch up. Ryzen did have an event. Ryzen 39. I gotta watch that.
Yeah. All right, man.
All three judges had Mokaev up 2-0 going into the third.
Wow. Well, I thought it was
great
closer
job.
than that.
Got that armbar. I did not. When he set up the armbar, I was like, "Oh, he's too low on the arm. Gordon's just gonna pull out." And then he tapped, and I was like, "Never mind."
Never mind. What do I know?
Good shit.
All right. That's all we're gonna cover for the fights. We already spent an hour covering just 7 fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of it was the
Here's the pictures.
Yeah, Rich, just look at the smile on that one. Did you see that? Rich, go back one picture there. Look, as you're getting slammed, what kind of confidence do you have to have when you're getting slammed? You look at the camera and you just say, "Cheese."
Surprised he wasn't winking in that one.
Yeah, feeling himself.
Yeah.
But I think we'll go ahead and go on to the administrative stuff. I think we have a moment of silence, right, for the fights that didn't happen.
Yeah, there's a lot. Let's see. Marina Rodriguez was supposed to fight Amanda Lemos. That would be a good fight. That's a fun fight. Let's see. Tahugov versus Lucas Almeida got pulled like the day of. Let's see. What are the other big ones? Mustafayev versus Jamie Malarkey. Malarkey had to pull out. Always fun watching Malarkey. Jalton Almeida versus Shamil. They've tried to make this fight like 100 times, and it doesn't happen. Just get Shamil out of the rankings. Let Almeida fight somebody else, which I think they are now. I think they booked him against Maxim Grishin. Mustafayev was also supposed to fight Nishikawa. Nishikawa was the guy who he became pro when he was like 13 years old, super young. There was rumors that it was the contract dispute, like Tapology says. Nishikawa says no. It was on Mustafayev's end that he pulled out, and then all of a sudden Nishikawa was off the roster. So
dropped, right?
Who knows what happened? Nobody knows. The big one, Parker Porter versus Slim. Slim is very legit. Big heavyweight prospect coming out of the same camp as Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou came from. This is the big drama show, is this one, because it says that Trabelsi withdrew. That is not true. This was the actual contract. Tapology needs to get their shit together. Come on. This was the contract dispute. Ali was like, hey, let's get Slim in the UFC. And what's the coach? Cyril Gane's coach? Why can't I think of his name? He's so good. He's a good coach. But he had a lot of drama with Francis Ngannou, right? And Slim comes from his organization, which, if you don't know, he not only runs the camp, but he also runs this. He's the promoter for this organization over there. And he was like, "No, Slim, you can't go to the UFC. You're under contract." We're not going to absolve your contract. And Ali was like, "Bro, give him his shot with the UFC." And he was like, "Only if he pays out of the contract." And he wanted like $200,000 or some shit. And then obviously that never worked out. So they're like, "Cool, we'll just cut him from the UFC." And we'll do Parker Porter versus Hamdi, which Hamdi is very exciting too. And then Hamdi was injured, so Parker Porter got nothing. But yeah, very interesting. If you look into that, look into the drama with the Slim Trabelsi. Very interesting.
Big drama show.
Big drama show.
And also, Tosi going through and saying that Cerrone had one title fight. Actually, it was against RDA.
Yep, and that worked out pretty well for him, huh?
Yeah, yeah. All right, and then I believe we also had some monies that was handed out yesterday, huh?
Yeah, solid 3 bonuses here. We got a performance tonight for Belal Muhammad.
They didn't get more.
Yeah, Belal Muhammad got a performance bonus. Islam Makhachev got a performance bonus for subbing the guy with the most subs in the UFC history. And Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley got fight of the night, $50,000 each.
Yep, and the coach Fernand Lopez,
that's who it is. Yeah,
Fernand Lopez out of France. Yes, but man, okay. So before we finish this, Will, quick question: UFC 280. There was so much hype going into this. I know that you and I were super hyped for this. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate the card.
Scale of 1 to 10 is so difficult. I would say this is a pretty average pay-per-view in my opinion. All said and done, I would say like a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I say 7 or 8. 7 or 8. Rich, you're muted.
Rich muted.
Just want to say average is 5. That's the middle, Will. So is it a 5?
Average is 7 for. I would say it's not an average out of 10. It's an average UFC card, and most UFC cards are about a 7.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it was just me that was hyping it up too much in my own head. I don't know.
Well, no. Here's what happened: is there was 2 title fights, but we really only got one because one guy came in super compromised and couldn't even fight.
That makes sense. Yeah. But hey, shout out to Regen, shout out to HOB Comer, shout out to Coleslaw, Elijah Grant for joining us, Math Prodigy for joining us, Toasty, who has a fight coming up at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk on the 29th, is it?
29th.
All natty. He might be high as balls all the time, but he's all natty. Who else? Well, I believe that's everybody that joined us today, but it's always so much fun whenever we have everybody join us to talk fights with us live. Yeah. Really appreciate all the love that y'all show. And that's all I got for this week. Next week, what do we do? Who's fighting next week?
Real quick, while we're looking this up, definitely everybody go back. If you have Amazon Prime, watch the ONE FC card on Amazon Prime. Shit was awesome. Worst nut shot I've ever seen in my life. Shattered the cup of John Lineker. But it was a war up until that point. Very good fight.
R.I.P. to his cup. Next week we have UFC Fight Night Cater versus Allen.
Yeah, very good fight. We got Dirty Bird versus Max Griffin. Dustin Jacoby versus Khalil Roundtree. This is a pretty good card, dude. Jared Vanderaa. Trishan Gore versus Josh Framd. Arlovsky
at 90 years old. Chase Hooper's back in here.
Iron Turtle versus Joseph Holmes. Roman Dolidze versus Phil Hobbs. This is a pretty good card, man.
This is a really good card.
Yeah.
You know what this card needs, though? Katlyn Chookagian.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, thank you, everybody, for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight. Before we go, though, in case you didn't know, this podcast is produced by Richard Bustos. Hey, party sound.
Hey, good luck, Andrew. Good luck, Andrew.
Hey, good luck, Toasty, for sure. Thanks for joining us for another week of Story of the Fight, everybody.